There was a treaty which I forget what it's called, that
Don't
the
tell me there was
British.
a biryani treaty.
No, there was not a biryani treaty, but there was a treaty where which basically did not let the Nawabs go to war. So two things happened because of that. They couldn't go and express how amazing they are on the battlefield. So they started to do that in other ways,
In the kitchen.
in the kitchens.
Let me ask you a really, really controversial question, okay? Is there such a thing as a veg biryani?
There was a biryani, and inside the biryani was ice cream. So there's a lot of that also happening. Yes, there was strawberry ice cream or something, and I didn't watch further, so I don't know what it was, because I was like, no, I don't want to see. Like, biryani is so much more than just food. It's a whole.
It's a conversation. वो क्या होता है जनाब, सब चुटकियों का खेल होता है. Hello and welcome to A Century of Stories India, brought to you by IDFC First Bank, always you first. I'm your host Kunal Vijaykar, and today we dive into the irresistible world of biryani. Now, biryani isn't just something we eat. It's something we argue over, bond over, and celebrate with. But how did this one dish come to mean so many things to so many people? This is the story of biryani, not just as a beloved meal, but as a marker of India's rich culinary history, layered, like the dish itself, with migration, memory, and meaning. And joining me to discuss all this is Shubhra Chatterjee, filmmaker and culinary researcher. She's traveled across India tracing forgotten recipes, exploring local food traditions, and uncovering the deeper stories behind what we eat. So, Shubhra, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and I love that we're speaking about biryani.
And I'm so happy to talk about biryani because even for me, if you ever ask me what my favoriteest food in the world is, it would come down to biryani.
That's interesting, really.
Yeah. Well, look at what is happening today with biryani. Look at social media, which is our big thing right now. Okay,
Right.
a biryani post hits the ceiling. A biryani meme everywhere. There are biryani memes. There are biryani arguments. It's all
Yes.
social media so actively involved with this one dish, biryani.
Absolutely. Just the
Yeah.
other day on Instagram, on social media, I was seeing something which is there was a biryani, and inside the biryani was ice cream. So there's a lot of that also happening. Yeah, so it was like you kholo a biryani, right? Biryani kholte hain. To usko
Correct.
khola, to andar there was strawberry ice cream or something, and I didn't watch further, so I don't know what it was, because I was like, no, I don't want to see this.
Did you not watch further because this sort of just affected your
Yes.
sensibilities or
Yes,
what?
yes, that's exactly why. Because, like, when you think of biryani, I mean, though none of us are purists in that sense of the word, and we eat, like, a lot of things because we're interested in eating them. But just the idea of ice cream, and I love ice cream and I love biryani, but just the idea of the two together did
Yeah,
something to me.
yeah.
And it was pink, bright pink ice cream. It wasn't a color that. So you have the saffron biryani and the pink ice cream, and I was like, I don't think I can watch anymore.
Do you think with evolution of time, a strawberry ice cream biryani will become into something that people will eat on a regular basis? It says look, food evolves, okay?
Yes.
It's a living creature, if I may call it that. And the biryani that came in from wherever it came in from can't be the same as we eat today.
Absolutely.
So there is evolution of say 1,000 years, 2,000 years, or whatever. So do you think that in the future, in the next say 50 years or 100 years, ice cream biryani will become a thing?
I hope not, but one can't
Not
say.
is good.
I hope not. One can't say, but because food does need to evolve. If food didn't evolve, it would be so boring. We'd still be eating the few things that we were eating, thousands of years ago. So food, like you said, is a living being. It is constantly growing, moving, traveling from place to place, taking in things and evolving. So yeah, biryani also should evolve, but maybe not ice cream biryani.
Not with ice cream. Right? So we will get to the origins of biryani because everybody sort of. It's been much discussed. Where did biryani originate from, etc., etc. But before that, let me ask you a really, really controversial question. Okay, is there such a thing as a veg biryani?
You know, this is something that has plagued me for years.
Okay.
And I'm married to a vegetarian.
Lovely.
Okay. And one of the first things he cooked for me was a veg biryani. Okay. And I'm this hardcore meat eating, fish eating person. And I didn't know how to react because so he stays in the mountains. He made me get Shan biryani masala,
Masala.
from Bombay to the
Okay,
mountains so he
okay.
could make this veg biryani for me. Now, I didn't have the heart at that time to tell him that, you know, I am not very sure. Is there a veg biryani? At that time, I used to believe there's nothing like a veg biryani. But very recently, I read a paper written by a historian who's working on, you know, early modern South Asian food and Mughal food, Neha Varmani. And she mentions that in I think an 18th century cookbook because she's worked a lot with Mughal cookbooks like food of the Mughal elite. So there were various cookbooks. There is something called a biryan-e paneer.
Biryan e paneer.
Yes, there is a zir biryan e paneer, so which is a paneer biryani. So it did exist. So I'm like, if the Mughals were okay with it,
Then
the
why
later
then who
Mughals,
the
and-
hell are we to
yeah, then
argue
why are
about
we
this?
contesting it?
Yeah.
You know, and where does this come from that there can't be a veg biryani? But my question is, then if it's a veg biryani, it must be layered, right? Like because
Correct.
in my head that is what a biryani is.
Correct.
Otherwise, it's a pulao.
Yeah.
So if you make the vegetables, cook the vegetables, and then you layer the rice on them, I think it could be, and then do the dum.
So then what
it
do you
could
do?
be,
You have rice and then French beans and then rice and then
Potatoes.
cauliflower, then rice and then cabbage and then is
maybe not cabbage.
not
I don't-
cabbage.
yeah,
No, not cabbage. So then let's go back since we are talking about biryan e paneer and 18th century and maybe further back. Eventually, biryani is just rice and meat put together
Yes.
in whatever form. Where do you think the origins of biryani are from? Where do you think it first started? Where does the biryani come from?
Again, a very not controversial, but a very argued over, debated over topic. So, from what I understand, we have been eating meat and rice cooked together for a very long time. It's mentioned Mamsodana
When you
in
say
the
we,
Upanishads.
who's we?
Us in India.
Us in India.
Us
Okay.
in India, yes. Because I mean, we or China were the first growers of rice. We keep arguing
Correct.
about it. So we've had rice for a while. We've had meat for a while, and it's only common sense at some point to put the two together. We have in the Upanishads Mamsodana, which is mamsam, which is meat, and dana, which is rice, mentioned, which is a
Okay.
meat and rice dish.
So when you say Upanishads, you're going like really.
Yeah, but that's the first place where it's mentioned, the
Okay.
first recorded mention of it. We were probably eating this even before that.
Before
It's
that.
just that nobody, and if anyone has written it down, either we don't understand the text to be able to decipher it, or you know it hasn't it was probably written on leaves or something, and that hasn't survived. So
And forgive my complete ignorance, but when you say Upanishads, you're talking of how many years ago? What century are
I'm
we talking
speaking
about?
about the around 500 to 1000 BC.
BC. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
talking
so
about that
500.
time.
Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
talking of a good
Yeah.
3,000 years ago.
3,000 years ago.
3,500
yeah,
years
yeah,
ago. Okay.
yeah. I'm talking about that period. And then, of course, later works as well. Again, coming to, times closer to now, there is, again, this is something I've read in Neha Varmani's work because she's been doing a lot of work on Mughal food. She mentions that the first the first recipe of a dish like biryani as we know it now is from the 1500s.
From the 1500s,
From the
okay.
1500s, there's a cookbook which was written, which is a Safavid Empire cookbook. Okay, so
Okay.
it's where a Persia, Turkic Persia, that area. So early Safavid cookbook, which talks about a rice and meat dish which is layered with herbs.
Okay.
So, and it is cooked in a tandoor. Now, because it is cooked in a tandoor, the biryan comes in, which is roasting, and thus the name. So
Okay.
this is the most recent thing I've read. there are multiple other theories about birinj, being
Correct.
which is rice being
Which
the
is
base of the
rice,
name,
yeah.
or even barista
Yeah.
being because you have fried
Fried onions
onions.
and all that.
Yes. So, but according to her, this was there in the Safavid courts. Humayun was exiled there. So when they came back, Humayun and his retinue came back.
Entourage,
They
yeah.
brought entourage.
They-
They brought it
That-
back and they made it.
So then, so does that also probably mean that the art of cooking in a tandoor was also brought back around that time, or the art of cooking dum in layers was brought around that time? Because if we accept that the Upanishad said that you can mix rice and meat and eat it together, it could be just as a stir pot
Yes.
dish,
Pulao.
But this pulao, yeah.
Yeah.
But this thing, or you just cook rice and you cook meat separately and you put them
Put it
together and
together.
just yeah.
Yeah.
But this thing about layering
And then cooking.
and dum cooking,
Yeah.
it comes at that time.
So, I believe dum cooking happened here in India. It was cooked in a tandoor there, but when it came to India, certain spices were added. And the dum cooking happened over here.
Because we had all the
Though
spices.
We had all the spices, exactly. And our food was cooked with a certain amount of spices, as opposed to food which was cooked in Persia, which was more dry fruits and
yeah.
rose water, and perhaps the fragrance was
Of the
played an
meat.
important part. Yeah.
So then, what do you think is the journey from that time to today's biryani? And let's just stick to the sort of the Mughal variety. We'll get to the rest of
Yeah,
the
the
country's
South.
biryanis,
Yeah.
but the Mughal, because that's where the influence, you're saying Humayun brought it in,
Yes.
and till today where it has where we have reached, like even if you go and eat it, I mean, I was in Lucknow several years ago to start, and we said, "Hey, हमें लखनवी biryani खानी है," and this fellow looked at me with deep disrespect and said, "हमारे लखनऊ में बिरयानी नहीं बनती, हमारे लखनऊ में पुलाव बनता है." I said, sorry,
Right.
But it is a sort of pulao biryani
Yes,
tradition that has.
yes.
So what? So can you sort of trace it to the flavors that got added and it's reached today where it is?
I believe that biryani was something that was made amongst not just in the Mughal court, but the elite families, various elite families who would be subedars, or would be serving the court in some way. So in a sense,
Yeah,
you
the
can call them
sardars of the
yeah,
family,
the sardars.
Yeah.
And there used to be people who would be known for their biryanis. And it's very and there used to be cooks also who were known for their biryanis, and usually you don't hear the names of cooks, right? You don't know which khamsama was good at what. But there is a personal letter which has been written by our Aurangzeb to his son, and this is a very different side of Aurangzeb, because this is Aurangzeb who loves food, and he's
Nobody
written in
said
this,
Aurangzeb loved food before this.
yeah, I mean,
think we
Aurangzeb
just
who
abused
appreciates
him.
food,
Yeah.
who appreciates food, because of course there is a lot of stories about how in his later years he'd given up a lot of things,
Yeah.
and he was eating mostly Sufiana, which is like bland food.
Yeah.
But there's this letter that he's written to his son, who was later Bahadur Shah the First, where he's talking about how his son, he remembers how good the biryani and khichdi at his son's place was in the winters, and that his own cook, probably the kabuli he makes, is not as good, and that he had asked the son to send him the cook. I think the cook's name was Saliman, who made this biryani, but the son had refused. So if Saliman has a pupil, would you send him to me? So he basically wanted the son's cook,
Yeah,
and the
because
son
his-
was not sending him the cook. So it's a very
Oh,
interesting.
this is the correspondence that is happening
Yeah,
between the two.
and it's a letter. It's an actual correspondence. And in my head, I'm like, this is a guy who's sitting and fighting wars and trying to capture like all of Deccan and various parts of the country, and constantly, I'm sure, in the news even then, as he is now. And he's writing a letter to his son about biryani.
Send me a cook, man. I want to eat biryani. This is what he's saying.
So this is something that really amused me, and I found it like to be very telling of how biryani was regarded even then. Like we are obsessed with biryani now.
Yeah, we are.
It's the
I'm
most ordered dish or something on
on
Zomato, like
on
one of the
all the
food
yeah,
ordering
yeah,
apps. Yeah,
correct.
but I believe, I mean, biryani even then held a lot of meaning for people if they wanted a particular cook serve biryani.
From what I've heard, and I may it may not be accurate, is that during the Mughal period, the biryani, of course, existed, but was not as rich and flavorful as it is today. And say of the food, for example, okay, Wajid Ali Shah and that whole royal sort of repast, they started innovating with
Right.
because even the Avdi food is all based on Mughal cuisine, isn't it? And
Yes.
they've just enhanced it with dry fruit and spices and flavors and cooking
Aromas,
methods and all
yes.
that,
Techniques, yes.
technique and all
Yes.
that. Is that it started getting closer to what it is today post the Mughals. I mean, post the Mughal kitchens, at least.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that it got all its richness, all the ghee and maybe the birasta and the fried onions later on, and not during the Mughal period, is what I've heard. I mean, it may not be
It's very
accurate, but
likely. Again, I also haven't read
uh,
this, so I don't know. But it's very likely, and why I say that is because it was from the when the Mughal Empire, wasn't in its zenith anymore. It lasted, of course, till 1857.
correct.
But much before that, it had lost its,
It had.
the
It
glory
had,
days were
yeah.
over. So a lot of the cooks, the khansamas, and other artisans went looking for work to to the nizams, to the nawabs, to other
Nawabs, yeah.
principalities, people who could, in a sense, support them and the work that they did. And it also so happened that at that time, like when you talk about the Nawabs, and not just the Nawabs of Awadh, but various other Nawabs, there was a treaty which I forget what it's called, that
Don't
the
tell me there was a
British.
biryani
No,
treaty.
there was not a biryani treaty, but there was a treaty where which basically did not let the Nawabs go to war.
Okay.
Okay. So two things happened because of that. They couldn't go and express their, how amazing they are on the battlefield. So they started to do that in other ways,
In the kitchen.
in the kitchens, music,
Oh, that
art.
is so fascinating.
Yeah.
What a lovely story this is.
And the other thing that happened was that all of those military budgets then became available to them to use. So they spent money on the arts, on the culinary arts, which is why you hear all these stories of Nawabs competing with one another and calling each other and making these grand feasts and creating these new dishes, because they had no other way to compete. They were not fighting in the battleground, they were not fighting wars, they could not, conquer new lands. So what do? They spend their money and their time supporting artists and cooks who can create fantastical stuff for them.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's a huge insight into their cultural behavior
yeah, which is probably why a lot of really interesting things developed in
in
the
those
kitchens
times.
of Awadh, and yeah.
So there is one part of biryani which is which got cooked in the royal kitchens. There's another story which again may or may not be true, but it seems plausible. Is that it was a very simple dish to feed the army, which is you've got protein and you've got carbohydrates. You put them together, you cook it, and you feed them so that they are satisfied. Your stomach is also full, and you've got all the nutrients that you need. I was in Bangalore, and I was shooting my show in Bangalore, and we ate at a restaurant which does. It's called a military restaurant,
Yes, yes. Oh, I
and
love
they do
those.
dona biryani. Okay,
Yes.
and it is called Shivaji restaurant.
Right.
And then, if you go back into the history of the Maratha Empire, Shivaji's father ruled those parts of Karnataka and the Nizam Shahi that was in South India. And that biryani, the flavor, it's served in a, it's served in
Done,
yeah,
yeah.
in a done, which in Marathi is called a drone.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
which is a leaf vessel, a utensil or whatever you want to call it, a container made out of leaves, dried leaves called a drone in Marathi. And that's what dona is, probably a bastardization of the same word.
Right.
Because even today that biryani is served in this leaf thing.
Right.
And it's got thicker rice. It does not use basmati. and it's got spices, and it's
Pepper and chilies,
yeah,
yeah, it's fiery.
So
Yeah.
it's got all the South Indian sort of pepper and all that, but it was meant for the Maratha soldiers who were living in this area.
Interesting.
So that's how that is what the guys told me over there.
Right.
So I was in Calcutta, and Manzilat was cooking for me.
Right.
And I asked her, so is it true that Wajid Ali Shah was so broke that by the time they sent him to Bengal, that he couldn't afford meat? And she said, what rubbish.
I agree completely.
Absolute rubbish, you know. So you want to tell me the story? Do you have a story about why there is potato in a Calcutta biryani?
Probably because that's when we started eating potatoes, and cooks were experimenting with new things, because that was, I mean, Wajid Ali Shah's purse was some 12 lakhs a year even after he
Then,
was
even
in
then,
Calcutta,
yeah.
and plus 3 more lakhs for, this is Ranveer Bharat information. I think he told me this, yes, that if there was nothing like a broke Wajid Ali Shah. And so he had money. So it wasn't because there was no meat to put in the biryani. It was probably because his cooks were experimenting with newer vegetables that
and
were there.
So Manzilat told me that the potato was the most exotic thing that happened at that point of time.
Yes. And that's probably why it got put in the biryani.
That's not because he couldn't afford
No,
meat.
not at all, not at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it's very interesting, because before that, like the Calcutta mutton curry, the mangsho jhol also has potato in it. And I come from a Bengali family that left Calcutta in the 1870s.
Okay.
And we settled in the central provinces in Madhya Pradesh.
Okay.
The mutton curry made in our house does not have potato in it. So we essentially left Calcutta before this.
Potato.
Yeah, before
the
potato
wave
became this
happened.
exotic. Yeah, before the potato wave happened. And that's the only way to explain it. Otherwise, why would, because everything else is similar to how, a Bengali mutton curry is. It's just that there's no potatoes. So there probably were no potatoes before that.
Yeah.
And hence, when the cooks found this beautiful vegetable, exotic new vegetable, they started experimenting with it. Similarly, this is, of course, because we're talking about Calcutta, we have to talk about mithais. Rabindranath Tagore's niece, Pragya Sundari Devi, made a barfi out of cauliflower in the early 1900s.
Really?
On his 50th birthday for him.
Ah.
She made a cauliflower barfi because she was experimenting with a new vegetable.
And what shall we do with this?
And what shall we do with this, right? So this experimenting with newer vegetables was a thing.
Wait,
Yeah.
we won't go into that because we have a whole episode on
Yes,
sweets,
yes,
okay?
yeah.
That we're going to do one of these days.
Yeah.
And I'm going to reserve all those vegetable sweets for that episode.
Of course.
So we'll get back to our biryani. Now, the thing is, if you look at the map of India, there is a version of rice and meat cooked together, biryani, in every state.
Yes.
You know, what I'm trying to say, how many biryanis are there that you know, just randomly, you know? You have Andhra biryani, you have Tamil Nadu has
The Dindigul biryani,
Dindigul
Ambur biryani,
Ambur biryani,
Kongu Nadu biryani.
Kongu Nadu,
even
yes,
there's-
absolutely.
There's so many types. I think there's at least.
So has the biryani traveled through military warfare, soldiers, this thing? Or is it something that everybody did cook in any case? Like, it's not the most unbelievable thing that you take rice and meat and put together.
Yeah.
Do you think it actually migrated from places to places, the method? Or the fact that there was rice and there was meat, people would just land up cooking it together with their own recipes and methods?
It's a bit of both. That there would be rice and meat dishes, but people would also come with this knowledge of biryani, whether it was, merchants coming in or soldiers coming in, armies coming in. I think it was a mix of both, because even for the name to proliferate, otherwise all of these things would be called, there is a meat and rice dish in Tamil Nadu, which is called meat and rice. I mean, I don't know the Tamil name of it,
Okay,
but
okay.
it is there,
Means
which
meat
is
and rice.
different from the biryani.
Okay.
So I think there was, and I think the distinction is that when the biryani comes in, there is always this element of layering and the dum cooking, in
Correct.
whichever form it is. Like you were talking about the done biryani in Bangalore. In Kerala, you have the pothi biryani,
Correct.
which is
Yeah.
again wrapped in banana leaves and then
Yeah.
steamed for a bit. So, and what I think happened is that local ingredients obviously came into the picture, right?
Yes.
You have biryanis with coconut milk in them in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala. You have along the coastline, you have fish biryanis and you have prawn
Yes,
biryanis that are
yes,
coming in.
yes.
So whatever was available, the local ingredients, like I think in Maharashtra and Hyderabad, you have dagar fool, which is used in the biryani masala.
They got a
And
full, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
which is used, which is not something you see in a Lucknowi
Correct.
or a Calcutta biryani.
Yeah.
So whatever was around, which is what we tend to do with any food that comes
Any
to us,
food.
the evolution, you make it yours, right? Like when the biryani came, or whatever Humayun brought back with him came to India, it became Indian. Masalas went into it. And eventually it took on various forms. But at the same time, we've also had a very long history of trade with the Arab Peninsula,
Correct.
which is not the Mughal route via Iran and what is now
Yeah.
Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. There is the whole other sea
The sea
route.
routes.
Yeah. So it could have also been that some forms of the biryani, have developed. The South Indian forms of the biryani could have developed through that interaction.
Hmm.
It doesn't. I mean, though I'm sure to Hyderabad, the biryanis went with. There is an influence of how it is made in the Mughal courts going down there, but I'm sure there's some interaction happened which in some form introduced a form of the biryani, so to say, to the coastlines, to Kerala, and so it could have traveled inwards from
Correct.
there.
Correct.
And of course, the rice everywhere changes. You use basmati and sela in the
Yeah.
north, but in the south, you're using kaima and the short
Absolutely,
grain
yeah, yeah.
rice
Indrani
varieties.
in Maharashtra, which is just divine.
I love Indrani.
Yeah, it is divine. And if you make a biryani out of Indrani rice, it tastes really good. And
Wow.
while most other states, at least the South Indian states, you hear of a biryani, like the Kongunadu biryani in the hilly regions of Tamil Nadu, or the Andhra biryani. They also make, like in coastal, like Vishakhapatnam area and all, they do biryani with gongura leaves in it.
Oh, wow.
So it adds its own sort of local thing to
Right,
it.
right.
I've never heard of a biryani in Maharashtra or Goa for that matter. Now I have to think back. Is that there is no mutton and rice as far as, and I may be completely wrong. Okay, so if anybody wants to write and tell us that we are wrong, please write and tell us we are wrong. But I'm trying
Yes.
to just think back to see whether there is a biryani in Maharashtra.
One of my favorite biryanis is something I've eaten in Bombay, which is the Zamzam biryani.
Okay, please tell me about this
Now,
Zamzam
this
biryani.
Zamzam biryani is made by a Zamzam caterer in Jogeshwari,
Okay.
and it has all the spare parts.
Oof.
It's so delicious.
An awful biryani.
It's an awful biryani.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's really nice, and I think he only caters it in large quantities. It's not retail, and in fact, it was my
Please
DOP.
share the number with me.
I shall. I have the number. So I was introduced to it by my DOP Ishmael,
Okay.
who has shot Lost Recipes and all the various
Okay.
shows. And he was treating us one day, which is also like this biryani treat is a thing. You know how it was Eid just
Yeah.
3 days ago,
Yeah.
and I had biryani coming home from friends and colleagues. So the sharing of biryani is also such a thing. And if you know a biryani wala, you push that number to
Yes,
people.
yes.
you're not
And you share it.
hiding.
No,
your,
no, you don't hide
Yeah,
it.
you
Yeah, you don't
always
hide
push
it.
that number. Like, try this. This is good. And the discussions about he made it that day. It was a little drier. Today it's a little gila. Like biryani is so much more than just food.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a whole.
It's a conversation. It's
Yeah.
You're right. Because I have my 2-3 favorite biryani people who make biryani. I've tried. Like for example, Jafar Bhai. The old man was my
Yes.
favorite biryani person. It's also I'm a Bombay fellow, so that I like that slightly spicy, oily taste of biryani. And I once shot with him. I used to do a show for several years on television, and where I used to go and cook food and eat with people. So old man Jafar Bhai himself, Mansoori, cooked a biryani in front of me. His iconic Dilli Darbar, what it used to
Wow.
be Jafar Bhai biryani.
Right.
And I made a note of that recipe, and I have tried it. It never turns out like his, but it turns out pretty good. And I'll tell you a little secret is that he puts pineapple in the biryani.
Oh.
Yeah, because his theory is a biryani has to be sour, which the dahi does, spicy, which red chili powder does, aromatic, which all the garam masalas do, and slightly sweet,
It's beautiful.
which the pineapple does.
Wow.
And by the time you cook the biryani, the pineapple has disappeared.
Right. It's just
It's
disintegrated
just
and you
disintegrated,
yeah.
you know. And it is, and potatoes, and it's full of ghee, and you cook it kacha ghosh ka, you know, so you
Okay.
don't cook the mutton separately and then layer it out and all.
Right.
It's one layer of meat at the bottom and one layer of rice on the top, and
Okay.
it cooks together,
Beautiful.
and it cooks beautifully, you know. And that's why my
Lovely.
mouth is fucking watering.
Yeah,
for-
my mouth is watering too, just listening to. But I love this. I love this pineapple in biryani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, then this kaju, badam, piska, depending on how rich you are, you can put that in, you know.
Yeah. Like because I mean, even if you read the Mughal texts again, they had a lot of these sweet sour pulaus. Not called biryanis, but pulaus. You had ananas
Yeah, yeah,
pulao, and
yeah.
mutanjan, of course, is very sweet. It's all sweet. It's cooked in like a kilo of sugar. So, but there was this thing again about the Hakims used to play a very large
Yes,
part in
yes,
developing
yes,
recipes.
yeah.
So the various tastes, the flavors were brought
Because
in.
they knew the jadi booties of
Yeah.
what to put inside.
Yes.
It's like the sandalwood in Galavati, you know, in Kakori. In Kakori, I think they put sandalwood paste or something.
Right, I'm not sure whether it's
yeah, but
in the
so-
Galavati kebab they put the kacha aam, the sherry,
Correct.
Malihabad
Yeah,
ka,
yeah, yeah.
uska paste jata
Yeah.
hai. Haan.
And then there's the other one, the Kakori kebab, I think, in which they put sandalwood,
Sandalwood.
paste. You know, and the sandalwood paste can only come from a Hakim.
Yes.
It's not coming from a Bawarchi, you know.
Yes, yes. We once cooked with a very distinguished um Khan Sama chef, Shaukat Bhai in Lucknow, and he made dore kebab, which is not very frequently made these days. And I remember he was putting all these various itars, a little bit of rose, a little bit of this, and he had put sandalwood paste, and
Yeah.
that was I think my only time cooking with shooting somebody
So-
actually cooking with sandalwood.
So when you say
paste.
little bit of this, little bit of that, the chef I shot again years ago. One of these ustads in the Kakatiya at ICC in Hyderabad.
Wow.
They said, and he was telling me with great pride, and I met a lot of these guys. वो क्या होता है जनाब, सब चुटकियों का खेल होता है. तो ये चुटकी थोड़ा सा ये चुटकी before Farah Khan wrote that dialogue in her
एक
film
चुटकी
एक चुटकी सिंदूर, he had चुटकियों
एक चुटकी
का
केसर, एक चुटकी-
yeah, that's what. Because चुटकियों का खेल होता है ये
I
सब.
like that. That's a lovely name for a cookbook. Chutkiyon ka khel.
Yeah. Come on, write it now. Write the cookbook. I'll give you the rights to the title. There's no problem with that.
Or a food show.
or a food show. Really, really. But before I end this episode, I want to touch upon something that is happening today. We've got biryanis made out of kathal. We've got biryanis made out of Gucci. What is your view on these biryanis?
Well, food must evolve. I think both kathal and guchi are perfectly delicious
By themselves.
vegetables. I like kathal. I like guchi. So the evolution, and I'm sure the guchi adds a lot of depth and flavor to the biryani
They're trying
itself.
to mimic
yeah,
the meat.
They're trying.
It doesn't have its
exactly.
individual. I mean, you're trying to recreate meat for somebody who doesn't eat
Doesn't
meat.
yeah. So
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything wrong
There's no problem
in that.
actually.
Yeah,
I'm
It's-
just being a
it's-
snob. That's all.
So no harm. I think food is meant to evolve.
It is. At the end of the day, I think that's what even I keep telling people. We can have our own preferences and our own sort of snobbery about food. But food, being a living, breathing organism, it will grow and it will change and it will. I hope the biryani never changes. But still, I will be open minded about it. First of all, I have a problem if it's not made out of mutton.
Wow, very interesting.
On that note, I think we are very hungry now. I think we should order some biryani and eat it as soon as we cut. Yeah. But Shubhra, thank you so much. We're going to have many, many more conversations, and we're going to. I just love this. I just love spending a good morning chatting about food. My favorite food,
Always.
biryani, and I'm sure you also.
Yeah, I think mornings that start with talking about food, the rest of the day goes beautifully,
Beautifully well.
Yeah, there's nothing as nice as chatting about food. I could do it for hours and hours and hours and not get tired.
Yeah. And we will do more of that. We will do more of it.
Thank you so much for having
Thank you,
me.
thank you. So this was A Century of Stories India, brought to you by IDFC First Bank. I'm Kunal Vijaykar, this was Shubhra, and we will be back with more episodes coming up. See you, bye.
IVM